would take a look at what that governor vetoed, and just remember that every veto would have been a law if Abigail Spanberger was governor. And they would have banned several different types of semi-automatic rifles. You would be a criminal if you owned a magazine that held more than 10 rounds. Now, I don't know about you. Oh, and by the way, let's just get something really clear here. That's not you're a criminal because you had 4 or 5 magazines. No. That's a criminal charge for every magazine that held over 10 rounds. Which if you own a basic semi-automatic pistol, you probably got a magazine that holds over 10 rounds. You got an AR-15, right? That has a magazine over 10 rounds. So they went after our gun rights incredibly hard. When they talk about, this drives me nuts every single time. I will tell people they want abortion at birth, no exceptions. And they'll say, well, that doesn't happen. Dozens of times. Well, that's not what they really want. Really? Because they voted on it. They didn't just vote on a bill. They voted to try to they want it in the Virginia Constitution. All the way up to the point of birth, no exceptions. It used to be that if you wanted it in the 3rd trimester, you had to have 3 doctors bless off on it for health reasons. Now you only need 1, which means the abortionist can bless off on it. Oh, you're stressed today? Not a problem. Month 9. There's just something fundamentally evil about that. Now here's the incredible part. As we were debating this, and I got on the floor of the House of Delegates and I read off testimony from a nurse who used to work in an abortion clinic as she described a late-term abortion. And it was abhorrent. And after we get done with that, you want to know what the very next constitutional amendment they wanted to consider? Automatic restoration of voting rights for all convicted felons upon completion of their sentence. And we had a delegate get up and say that we were fake Christians because we didn't want to do automatic restoration of voter rights for convicted felons. So let me just get this clear. If you want to abort a baby up to month 9, that's a perfectly reasonable and moral position to take. But if you don't want a child rapist to get their voting rights back automatically upon completion of service, you're a fake Christian. This is the sort of moral gymnastics that are being played down in the General Assembly. They didn't just have one bill to change mother to birthing person or birthing individual. They had several. I had a bill that said, you know what? We've had a lot of controversy about the sort of reading materials that are going into public school libraries. And you would be horrified about some of the books and some of the pictures that your 13-year-old has access to in a public school library. So I said, you know what? You've called us book banners, you've called us, book burners, I don't have a bill that bans a single book. All I do is I have a bill that says each school library is now going to be responsible for providing an electronic searchable list on their website. You tell us these books aren't in there? Great. Well, now parents can check for themselves. Guess who showed up to oppose that bill? Did it ban a single book? The Virginia Education Association, the Library Association, and the Public School Library Association. So the same people that are telling you nobody wants this stuff in your public school libraries. Really? Because they sure spent a lot of money on lobbyists to make sure that you didn't know it was in there. It gets worse. It gets worse before it gets better. I had a bill that said if you are in the Commonwealth of Virginia illegally and you get arrested for a violent crime and you get convicted of that violent crime, well then upon completion of your term, upon completion of your sentence, we're going to hand you over to ICE and you're going to get deported. Nope. That bill never got heard. I had another bill, this is called Sage's Law.
Oh, yeah.
And the reason why it's called Sage's Law is because a young girl, her real name is not Sage, that's the name that's used to protect her identity. Sage was going to school in Fairfax County. Fairfax County School District took it upon themselves to socially transition Sage. Sage got in with a group that she met online that she thought was a safe group, ended up running away from home and then getting sold into sex trafficking. She finally got caught up in Maryland. That's where they finally recovered her. And Sage's mom goes up there in order to see her. And the district attorney up there decided, oh no, this is a great case. We're going to prove that we can take this girl away from her parents because they didn't affirm her gender. So they didn't even get to see Sage. They got to see her through a television monitor.
And when her dad said, Sage, and referred to her as a girl, he got chastised by the judge. How dare you? That's mental abuse. So they went through a court case, and obviously they decided that they needed to hand her back to her parents, who, by the way, had never been convicted of anything. In fact, her mom is a child counselor. Nope. They put her in a foster home. Guess what happened? She got abused in the foster home, she ran away, and then she got trafficked again. It wasn't until a judge in Texas finally gave her custody back to Sage. Guess what happened to that bill?
Wasn't heard.
Never got heard. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been in the Virginia General Assembly for 10 years, and on average, 5 to 10 bills won't get heard. And usually it's your own party. Usually it's your own party that comes to you and says, Nick, hey, we're not going to hear this bill, we don't have enough time, or there's a problem, or whatever it is, but we're not going to hear it. Usually that's what happened. This year, 130 Republican bills were not heard by the Democrats. They weren't hearing bills because they didn't want to have to vote no on them, and they knew they would. Now, 3 years ago, I was a subcommittee chairman of what we call the gun sub. That is the subcommittee that hears all the gun legislation in Virginia. Now, you all know me. You think I had to sit through and listen to a lot of testimony on bills I didn't like? Sure did. But as the subcommittee chairman, I made sure that every bill got a hearing, that people could come and testify. Because as much as I might not like a particular bill, our job as a deliberative body is to deliberate. It is to debate. It is to hear things out, to include ideas we don't agree with and don't intend to vote for. They stopped that entire process. The same political party that wants to constantly tell us how scared they are about threats to democracy decided that there would be no hearings, no testimony, and no votes on over 130 bills because they didn't want to have the courage in an election year to cast no votes on bills that they know the vast majority of people within this Commonwealth want and think are common sense. That is where we are at. And I will tell you, a source of frustration for me is, again, this whole idea that just anybody can claim to be a Republican, and we're going to get strong Republicans, strong conservative advocacy down in Richmond. I'm telling you right now, that's not the case. Again, the reason why I asked Karen to run was because I wanted to make sure that the next person that goes down there after me is going to continue to fight for what we believe and fight against this nonsense. I don't want to hear milquetoast, oh, yep, I'm a fiscal conservative. You know what I've noticed? I don't know a single fiscal conservative that actually does fiscally conservative things. I know actual conservatives that do conservative things, but if you're going to run away from the abortion issue, if you're going to run away from the gun issue, if you're going to run away from this radical LGBTQ issue in our schools, I don't trust you to represent the district.
Amen.
I want people that are going to be bold on those issues. Because you know what? Part of the reason why we're in this mess is we've had too many Republicans that said, you know what, that's too contentious. Oh, here's my favorite. That's too divisive. I got a question. Why is it that every time Democrats do a divisive thing, it's not divisive until we notice it? No, it's divisive because what they're doing is nonsense. And it's nonsense at best. But when you're telling me we're going to enshrine in the Virginia Constitution that the oldest legislative body in the Western Hemisphere is going to enshrine in its own Constitution the killing of the unborn all the way up to month 9, that's not nonsense. That's just evil.
It is evil. Murder.
That's just evil.
It's murder.
And Karen's absolutely right when she says that so much of this is a product of things that are going on within our schools. And we got a lot of good teachers that are fighting against it, but they don't pick the curriculum.
Yep.
And I watched the last time the Democrats were in charge, and I watched how they set up all of this different training you had to go to get your license, to renew your license. And they told us, oh no, critical race theory is not in any of this curriculum, it's not in any of this training. And then you looked it up, and sure enough, there it was. Lectures by Ibram X. Kendi. So, the nature of the fight we're in is very serious. Now, thank God Governor Youngkin vetoed a lot of this stuff. But we have to take back the House of Delegates, because if they keep the House of Delegates,
That's right.
they will pass these constitutional amendments again, and this is all going to go to a referendum, and they usually win the referendums. I hate to admit that, but it's true. And so we need to take back the House of Delegates so we can stop this in its tracks. Now, I owe you all an explanation for why I'm not running for re-election, because I had a few people mad at me.
We're mad at you.
Now, one thing I've said a lot since I've been in there is that I don't think this is supposed to be a career. And I meant it. And a lot of people will say it shouldn't be a career, but they mean for everybody else. I meant it for me too. And this past year, actually these past couple years, Tina and I have put a lot of time and effort into not only fighting in the political realm, but also fighting in the cultural realm. And I'm very excited to say that God's put out a lot of great opportunities for us to be able to help with students. Since I got out of session, I've had to fly somewhere, either talking to a different group or students or a different podcast or going up to the White House every single week since I've been out of session, except for one. This White House has done more in less than 100 days
Yep.
than any president in my lifetime. And because this White House has recognized us as a member of the new media, we've had an opportunity to go up there, and we've gotten to speak with Caroline Levitt. We've gotten to speak with J.D. Vance. We've gotten to speak with RFK. We've gotten to speak with Marco Rubio, with Pam Bondi, with Kash Patel. After the president gave his joint address to a joint session of Congress, the very next day I got a call. Do you want to come up and talk with Speaker Mike Johnson as a member of New Media? Yes, I do, because I want to ask Speaker Mike Johnson some questions like, when is Congress going to actually live up to their end of the deal with what Trump is already doing on the executive side?
That's right.
Because if we're just relying on Trump to do everything, well, when does Congress step in and actually codify this stuff? And so the opportunities that we've had both on the educational front, on being able to work with the White House, on being able to hopefully make sure that a lot of things that DOJ is identifying, Congress actually does its end of the job when it comes to the continuing resolution for fiscal year 2026. We've had an opportunity to go up there to talk to senators, to talk to members of Congress, and it's always the same question. What are you going to do, when, and how do we know you're actually going to do it? Tell us what to look for. And we want to be able to keep doing that, because we don't have 4 years, we have 2.
Yeah.
And I've had an opportunity to tell that directly to Speaker Mike Johnson. Because I already know the administration knows they got 2 years. They're going to do as much work as they possibly can in 4. But right now we have the House, the Senate, the executive branch, and the Supreme Court. What's your excuse, Republicans in Congress?
Good question.
And I want them to hear it from us, that we expect them to act. We expect them to deliver on these promises, because Trump's doing his part. Now it's time for Congress to step up and do theirs. But we had to ask the hard question of, can we continue to talk to all of these student groups? Because we just got back from one homeschool convention, we're going to another one. YAF, which is Young America's Foundation, that was the organization that they run the Reagan Ranch, they run Reagan's Boyhood Home. They just started a new program, not just for college students, which is great, they actually have one for middle school students and for high school students, and they've asked us to be a part of that. And because we believe that one of the biggest fights that we have right now is with education. It's with training up the next generation, just like Reagan said, right? Freedom is not passed to future generations in the bloodstream. It has to be passed along to fit and for future generations to do the same. And we've been provided an opportunity to be a part of that fight, and I want to be able to do it. But we've noticed that as much as it was causing us to travel, you guys are owed a delegate that's going to be in district. And we had a hard time figuring out, okay, Lord, we're trying to do both of these things, but eventually we're just going to do both of them poorly, or we're going to do one of them really well. What fight do you want us in? And if you want us in one fight, can you please show us who would be a good person to continue the fight here in the House of Delegates? And for us, that's Carol. Now, there is some good news. There is some good news. This is probably not going to come as a huge shock, but a lot of times when I carry a bill, the Democrats kill it because I'm carrying it. And so I don't get as much good legislation through as I would like, but the bottom line is I made up my mind a long time ago that if I had to compromise on my values in order to get little bills passed through here and there, I wasn't going to do it. But when it comes to commending resolutions, even they don't kill my commending resolutions. And so on behalf of the Virginia General Assembly, specifically the House of Delegates, because I don't deal with those aristocrats over in the Senate. Wrong one.
Can you read it?
I am.
He's gonna open it.
Agreed to by the House of Delegates April 2nd, 2025. Whereas the Madison County Republican Women is an organization dedicated to supporting Republican principles and values in the Madison County community. And whereas Madison County Republican Women is a member of the Virginia Federation of Republican Women and the National Federation of Republican Women. And whereas Madison County Republican Women strives to promote and inform public through a variety of political, educational initiatives and activities and to increase the effectiveness of women in politics. And whereas the Madison County Republican Women recruits and supports Republican women to campaign for public office at the local, state, and national levels. Whereas the Madison County Republican Women works to advance the objectives and policies of the Republican National Committee and candidacies of the Republican Party nominees. And whereas the Madison County Republican Women has touched countless lives through a number of service endeavors, including food closets, literacy programs, and fundraisers to support the nation's veterans. And whereas Madison County Republican Women has pursued its mission with a great sense of purpose and conviction and made a profound and lasting impact on the Madison County community, now therefore be it resolved by the House of Delegates that Madison County Republican Women here be commended for its legacy of service, and be it further resolved that the clerk of the House of Delegates prepare a copy of this resolution for presentation of the Madison County Republican Women as an expression of the House of Delegates' admiration for the organization's contributions to Madison County and the Commonwealth.
Brown noser.
Oh, no. That's coming next.
Thank you so much.
Here's the brown note. Agreed to by the House of Delegates April 2nd, 2025. Whereas Ann